Hello and welcome back to Solo Board Gaming Presents, and today we have a game I've been looking forward to showcasing, Ici c'est la France, from Kanger, that great designer, and from the great stable of Legion Wargames. And this is the revised second edition, and Ici c'est la France covers the Algerian War of Independence from 1954 to 1962. And this was the French insurgency war against the FLN, the National Liberation Front, in Algeria from 54 to 62. And it's a conflict of huge drama. It cost the lives of nearly 500,000 Algerians. It forced the exodus of over 1 million French settlers from Algeria back to France. And in fact, it brought France itself very close to the brink of civil war. We'd best take a look. So here we are, Ici c'est la France from Legion Wargames and designed by Kanger. Let's take a quick look at the back of the box. And I'm going to take much of what I'm going to say in the next couple of minutes from the game box, really, because I don't want to get any of it wrong. I want to describe what the game is about. I think it's really quite an important game. And once again, it's encouraged, like it does to the vast majority of us, my further research into this really dramatic period. It's important to point out, by the way, that it describes number of players as 1 or 2. It really is very solo friendly. So it's a 2-player game, but very soloable. In fact, solo suitability, medium to high. And for me, that's sort of 7 or 8 out of 10. Haven't played it yet. So this is a sort of an unboxing. I just want to showcase it and to do an overview of what the game's all about before we really get stuck into playing the game, which will be a different video. The game boasts really being designed as or containing 3 games in one almost. In other words, there are 3 huge aspects of the game running alongside one another during each turn. There's the political side of it, the insurgency side of it, very much a coin type game. You'll find a lot of coin elements in here, but additionally a military game. So the politics is driven by chits, and they control 4 different parameters: the National Liberation Front structure, the Algerian population, the Pied Noir, they're the French settlers in Algeria at the time, and of course the French public itself back in France and the French government. And each of those affects the play in different ways. And what eventually ends the game is when the French public reaches 0 and calls for a referendum. Then you check each region on your map as to whether they will vote to stay with France or become independent finally. If a majority votes pro-France, the French player wins, and vice versa. So how does that happen? Well, that's the second part of the game, the insurgency part. So it's through different insurgency or counter-insurgency actions that you will make a region pro-FLN or pro-France. And then finally, the military part. There's a little bit of hex and counter style here as well. The military part allows you to contest and control these different regions. So finally then, it's a case of you have to fight to control and conduct insurgency, counter-insurgency actions in order to win the hearts and the minds of the population, and then through the politics See to it that the public in France either supports you or gets fed up with the war. Time to look inside the box. Now, I've started a little bit back to front here because I'm starting with the map, and it must be the mapaholic in me, and I mentioned that such a lot. The map was so attractive, and what can I say? It's a Kim Kanger map. It's a large map. See if I do that. We've just about got this right-hand corner in over here. And I think, yeah, we can see most of it. We'll zoom down in a second, but it's a beautiful looking map of North Africa. The Atlas Mountains would be going across here. You got the Mediterranean. And basically, all of this area here that you see right across to here is Algeria. And at this time in history, Algeria was considered literally to be part of France. Ici, c'est la France, hence the name of the game. Here it is French, here it is France. And if you want to play a game that really brings home the craziness of the concept of colonialism, then it's a game like this that you really need. And actually on that subject, you might feel, those of you that have seen it, that the map has somewhat of a resemblance to Colonial Twilight, the coin game from GMT by Brian Train. And they do share a lot. That game, I've not played that either, is very much a coin game. I've been reading people's thoughts on the two games, people that own both games, and they are what they are. Colonial Twilight is very much a coin game, cards, multi-use cards and that kind of thing to actually drive the game, lovely wooden pieces, etc. This shares a little bit of a hex and counter feel, and we'll look at that. Covers a lot of the coin elements, insurgency and then counter-insurgency, as we mentioned earlier on, but goes a bit deeper. It looks like there's more politics in this game. Much of it is covered by the use of chits. And of course, we also have the military factor, the combat factor. Although it's fairly simplistic in this game, it is there. So I'm informed, and it's not my opinion, that Ici c'est la France by Kim Kanger here is a somewhat deeper game covering the period in a little bit more complexity. But just to be clear, that's not an opinion of mine. That is what my research is actually telling me so far. I'll find out myself. So we have the whole of Algeria here then. We have Morocco off to the west. We have Tunisia to the east. The Sahara here to the south. We have very irrigated, very productive farmland. We have mountainous regions. Beautiful colours here. We have towns, and these are the squares, look, on the map. I wish I could pronounce some of them. Medea. Cities, like here, Sétif. Now I have heard of Sétif. Philippeville. Again, another city. And of course, the major cities, and there's three of those: Constantine, Algiers, that will be, and Oran over here. We have roads and so on connecting them. And the map, the areas are called wilayas. I probably completely mispronounced that. Wilaya, something like that. I do apologise if I've murdered that word. And the wilayas, the different areas, are shown by the white lines. So see this big one over here? This is area 5, wilaya number 5. And each wilaya is again subdivided into regions. So you've got 5A, 5B, 5C, and so on. Here's wilaya or area 4. Within this white line, area 6, Area 1, Area 2 and 3 and so on. And it's these areas that we're fighting over for influence and militarily throughout the game. Let's see a little bit more detail. Okay, over this side then, we have the FLN, the Front Libération Nationale. I've probably murdered that as well. The FLN, or National Liberation Front, Operation Points Track. And the other side of the map, you'll have the French Operation Points Tracks. And it's all about operation points, apparently. So, at various times, in each turn, we receive, both sides, operation points. And you spend those operation points to carry out various actions throughout that turn. And operations points are recorded on here. They can't be saved. You either use them or you lose them. Then we have the years. Look here, 1955 to 1962 for a full campaign game. Although there is a game, a shorter version, which starts in 1959 to 1962. So I understand so far, King Kanger reckons that the full campaign game, 55 to 62, could last somewhere around 8 hours of play. For me, that's huge. That's brilliant. I love the idea of that. And each of the years is divided into 4 game turns: winter, spring, summer and fall. So game turns wise, a full campaign is going to be 8 years times 4, 32 game turns. We then have a couple of tracks or scales: the Pied Noir Feelings Scale and the Government Crisis Scale. The Pied Noir, or Blackfeet, are what the locals called the French population that lived there. And apparently Blackfeet, Pied Noir, comes from the practice of treading grapes. You end up with black feet, or purple feet, really, I suppose. So, it's their feelings, the feelings of the European locals, and the Government Crisis Scale, that is the government back in France. Pied Noir goes from mild acceptance, strong dislike, angry protests, disgust and contempt, violent demonstrations, government crisis. The Government Crisis Scale goes the Fourth Republic, Charles de Gaulle, Barricade Week, we love a barricade, coup attempt, Evian talks, and government collapse. Now, over here up at the top, ici c'est la France. We have that support level track, which can track right the way down to 0. We have the active political chits, which are placed along here. And we can probably actually have a slightly closer look. Over in this corner, we have the FLN political cell chart, and there will be counters that go into here. I'll show you those in a moment. And the attack chart, the French and Algerian forces. And of course, the French operational point track, the FLN version of which I showed you over the other side of the map. That's to track your operational points, which are to be spent each turn. So, what else do we get in the box? Well, we get the rule book. And there aren't a ton of rules. I think there's 15 pages here, and that includes players' notes. It includes background to the conflict, and so on. Includes an introduction to the components. So I'm thinking, rules-wise, 12 pages or so, and they're easy to understand. In fact, there's tons of explanation here, for instance, an explanation of all of the different French combat units, the FLN combat units and the French combat units. And there's a lot of different types of units. I think the complexity comes in making it all work together, because there are so many different parts to this game. And as I say, you've got in fact, let's have a look here. Game turn phases. You've got political phase, This is in each turn, and there are 4 turns, seasonal, per year. So political phase, reinforcement and replacement phase, move and attack phase, and insurgency phase. And they have to be followed in that strict order. And then the rules explain each of those phases, with plenty of examples actually, as you see in these boxes here. Move and attack phase and so on. Now, what do you notice about the rule book? And they are the rules for this second revised edition. Well, my copy that came in the box was monochrome, as you can see there. And yet I've seen another unboxing of exactly the same second edition game. I think it was, yes, it was really cool. It was Mo's game table, and he did a great unboxing, and his rules were in full colour. Legion, what's gone wrong? A complaint. And it's a complaint from a big fan of Legion Wargames. However, I did have the PDF, which is the very latest rules, obviously in full colour, so I printed those out. And to save paper, I printed them out in a really handy booklet format as well. And this is Rules of Play edition 2.1a. It's got some updates in red. And as you can see, this goes through all of the terrain, the counters, explaining those. Exactly the same rules as you can see there in monochrome. I just wonder if this monochrome set simply missed something in the printing process, or somebody set it wrong. You know, it's an errata. I'm not sure. Now, as I pointed out in the in that monochrome copy, I must bring you to, here we go. It's got players' notes in here as well for France and the FLN, which are excellent. But also, I love this, a lot of history here. Explains a lot of background of the political chits, and it goes through all the names of the political chits. They're marked in bold, ici c'est la France, but explains them within the entire story of the Algerian War of Independence. So there's tons of history here, and explains beautifully the context of each of those political chits that you're going to be playing throughout each turn of the game. Okay, it has this effect on the game, but what does it mean in the context of the actual history? I love that. So, rule book should be in full colour. What else? 4 dice. And a lovely bag of plenty of baggies by the look of it. And then we have, let me move those completely out of the way over there. And then we have some player aids. First of all, the population tracks. And each of these, look, corresponds, number 1, 2, 3, where are we? 4, 5, 6. And then the major cities. Corresponds to the wilaya, the wilayas, the areas on the map. You see? So we have, it starts green here, look, turning blue, or maybe it's starting blue, turning green. So each area then, this is area number 1, blue is pro-France, green is pro-FLN, and you can see how the mood can change in each of those important areas as the insurgency and then counterinsurgency has effect. The major cities, those 3 major cities, Oran, Algiers and Constantine, are areas within themselves, and these we marked down here, major cities pro-FLN and pro-France. That's a great way of recording it. Couple more things. We have, for the French player, I'm loving this, French political chit chart. So for each and every political chit that the French player can play, it tells us what the game effect is. Now remember, in the rule book, where it goes through each political chit and tells us where it sits historically in context, what actually happened on the ground, here it tells us what effects they have on the game. Starting in, it's divided into years, look, 1955 and 56, and finishes down here in 61, 62, with atomic tests, deuxième bureau, second bureau, ici c'est la France, FLN descent, reinforce, France will stay, France may add one step in one region, capture Ben Bala, breaking the strike, resettle, Les Bleus, oil in the Sahara, the Harkis mobilised, hunt arms dealers, and so on. Now, those are all the French political chits that you can play, but also the FLN have the same thing. And there's their player aid in green, again divided by years, and goes through each and every FLN political chit. French repression, massacre, ambush, the Bandung Conference, Abbas joins the FLN, the Suez Crisis, 1956, Kennedy, Algerian taxation, bomb attacks. Wow. Such drama, such politics. And to help us all along, there's two of these. We each have a player aid card. But of course, we're going to be playing solo. As we've seen, this is supposed to be extremely medium to high solo friendly. So player aid charts. So how we receive our operational points each turn, operation point costs for any particular action we want to do. And those are divided, look, the insurgency actions, attacks, movement, reinforcement phase. Each has actions and it gives us the cost in operational points for those. On the reverse, the status of each region, the sequence of play to keep us flowing, stacking limits, and control of Saharan and non-Saharan regions. Excellent stuff. So the counters, and I love these counters. Very colourful, and basically you got blue for France and you got green for the Algerian resistance. You have military counters, you have markers, and you have political chits, and they come in this shrink wrap. And even if you didn't want to bust open this shrink wrap, you also get a couple of audit sheets. Now these sheets allow you to inspect both sides of the two counter sheets without even breaking open the shrink wrap, like so. Or you could use them to audit your counter sheets, whichever way you choose. Interesting, and we'll see it in a second. He's often, if not always, doing this. Kim Kanger, there he is. There's his own counter in the game there as one of the Fidein, the political urban guerrilla leaders. But let's take this shrink off. Insert knife here. Okay, here we go. Shrink, shrink, shrink. I don't normally do this, actually. I've normally opened the game well before this, but already what's happening is the counters are just dropping out, and you can see why they're in this shrink wrap. These are fantastic counters. Look at this from Legion Wargames, and they just fall out of the pack. Here they are, look. So now you can see why we have these two audit sheets in the game box. So you can check the counters, you can have a look at the artwork, check what they are, without actually taking the cellophane off. So that's a great idea. Top-notch stuff. And, as you'd expect, absolute brilliant quality. In fact, we'll come down and we'll take a closer look at these. You see now, these are French military forces here. Now, as far as I can recall from looking at the rule book, the figure itself gives us the type of figure, and there are paratroopers, as you'd expect in the French-Algerian War. There are paratroopers, there are infantry, there are motorised infantry, there are mountain troops, and there's the Legion, the French Foreign Legion. There we are. Oh, cuirassier here. Now, the top number in the black rectangle is the quality of the unit. And I believe the bottom number is the strength of the unit. Now, they don't all come in at once. Look, in the bottom left corner here, 55, 54, 56. These are the years that those troops can enter the game. On the other side is their reduced step side. See, the quality's gone down and it's now in red. So that's their reduced side for the third cuirassier there. Now, paras there again. We have markers for the game. You've got yes there for France, and these are for this is for the area control. No, that's for Algeria. Contested or controlled. See, control, contested. Let's have a look at some of the Algerian counters. We have Mujahideen. Then we have the most lightly armed, which is it says here Mousse. What does that mean? Moussabilin. That's right, Moussabilin. So Mujahideen, Moussabilin. We also have, I think we need to turn it around that way. Here we go. Yeah, those are the ones I was looking for. The Zonal Commandos, and these are highly trained, better armed military units. There's never many of them, look. There are a lot of counters, but each counter is only a few personnel. But these are better quality, quality 3. And then you have, as I mentioned before, the Fidayin. These are historical figures and are the leaders of the urban guerrillas, including old Kanger himself there. But all in all, I think you'll agree, great quality counters. So, there we go. We have Ici, c'est la France from Kanger and Legion Wargames. We have top quality counters. We have some brilliant player aid cards for the politics and the insurgency records. We have easy to follow rules. We even have a couple of audit sheets. And we have a nice fat bag of baggies and dice. A brilliant quality game from Legion Wargames. And I'm chuffed that I'm just about to start learning it proper. And I'm going to play a full campaign. And then I'm going to do at least a play demo, if not a multi-part series. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been dying to get this game out. If you did enjoy it, please like the video. That would be really good, because that helps a lot. And it means I know if I'm doing something right. So, thanks very much for your patience. Thanks for watching, and join us again. See you soon. Bye-bye.